I volunteered at Second Home in Harrisonburg, which provides a before and after school program for children attending Harrisonburg elementary or middle schools. Second Home also runs on a very low income of only $12 per child weekly, so they really do rely on sponsors and volunteers. The population being served are the schools in Harrisonburg, such as Spotswood, Smithland, or Waterman Elementary, and Thomas Harrison or Skyline Middle Schools. The atmosphere at Second Home is filled with happiness and laughter. I could immediately tell the children love to spend their time there, and the teachers love their jobs. The area in which the children stay is filled with arts and crafts, games, sports, toys, and places to do homework. It is a very friendly, welcoming, and overall positive place for children to safely go after their school day is over. Immediately when the children get off the bus, it is pure chaos. Everyone comes piling into the church basement. For a few minutes in time, it is loud and chaotic, but then Miss Shepherd, the head teacher, quiets everyone down. For the most part, the children are really good at responding to Miss Shepherd because after they settle down and line up, they can play outside. After they have time to release their energy, they are broken up into grades in which they sit at tables and receive snacks. After snack is over, the children have time to complete homework assignments in whatever the specific teacher of each grade would like them to complete. The most challenging thing I encountered at Second Home was meeting so many children that were from low poverty and broken homes. My community at home is very sheltered, so hearing some backstories of how these kids have grown up really made me upset. This experience really opened my eyes up to how in my future career I need to grow a thicker skin and understand everyone comes from different places, and I can only do so much to help. By just showing attention to the children and being there to listen and help will go so far in their life. A few major connections I made between the experience of volunteering at Second Home and the lectures from in-class were how much easier I thought it would be to detect specific behavior problems, recognizing problems with speech, and the collaboration between teachers and parents. The majority of students at Second Home I could not differentiate if they had a disability or not, but the behavior issues really stood out. Immediately when the children get off the bus and pile into the mailroom to line up to go outside, you can tell which kids listen and the kids that can't sit still and start the problems. I assume those children had ADHD due to how they were extra hyper and distracted compared to the other children. And these kids were a lot more difficult to work with than anticipated. Also, another connection I made was when helping some kids with their homework. Some of the assignments were working on specific speech sounds, like S's and THs, and practicing the alphabet. There were a lot of different things I learned at Second Home that could never really be taught out of a textbook. I was really not expecting to pick up on as much as I did on how every child is different and how you really need to adjust the way you act and teach for every kid. A lot of the kids at Second Home had huge outgoing personalities that you not only needed to match, but be able to discipline them in a way that they will actually respect you. At the same time, there were a lot of shy kids that really needed people like the volunteers to help them and give them attention they aren't getting from their peers. Something else I really picked up on was that you can't be taught on how to interact with kids. Especially working with younger children, you need to be able to speak to them in ways in which they'll actually understand you. I definitely did not realize the amount of work that goes into the before and after prep of running any type of school program. Not only does there need to be an exact plan broken up into times that the staff needs to follow, but there also needs to be the right amount of flexibility with children because you never know how each day will go. Some days people just are off and this needs to be taken into account. Another idea that got my attention was learning how to deal with parents. Some parents will be over the top involved and some parents can be very minimally involved. Also, with dealing with parents, I didn't realize how flexible your own schedule needs to be because if a parent is late, it's your responsibility to stay with their kid and keep them entertained. While volunteering at Second Home, I got to help children with their homework and practice problems that really allowed me to take a more serious side to working with them and helping them with school, instead of just playing games and doing fun activities. Another skill that I was very excited that I got to practice was helping with pronunciation of speech sounds with a child and working on the alphabet. I was simply just helping them go through each sound and have them pronounce it on their own and step in when needed. I learned very quickly that I needed to make sure I gave the child a long enough time to try it on their own and make sure I don't jump in too quickly. I never have done this before, so it was a learning experience for me, and I was very grateful I could have such perfect practice for my hopeful career in the future of being an SLP. I definitely was not expecting to make the connections I did with the children in such a short amount of time. This program is designed for kids that don't always have the best home life and don't get as much time with their family as most do, so they are craving attention and support from anyone. It was extremely easy to jump into the program and help kids and get to know them. It was so exciting when children recognized me and remembered what we did the week before. It made me so happy to help, and I was just so surprised at how much I loved this. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I truly enjoyed this experience. Being at JMU, I sometimes feel like I live in a bubble, and with this wonderful experience to go off campus and help and play with such amazing kids brought me so much joy. I thought it was something that I was going to just have to do for a grade, but I found myself becoming invested into this really early on and looking forward to continuing volunteering here because of how great and welcoming the second home is. Getting to know the children at second home meant so much to me because I really do appreciate them feeling so comfortable with me. I responded with so much positivity and joy that I got this opportunity in college to better my understanding on how to act with kids and how to form connections. I loved how I got to be able to be part of such an amazing academic center for children that can feel safe and appreciated. I also loved how I could really have a hands-on approach in learning that matched what I was learning in class. What I disliked about this experience was how if there were too many volunteers some days, I could feel a little bit overwhelmed with not knowing what to do. Second home was a very eye-opening experience because it really was serving the impoverished population of Harrisonburg that I barely knew even existed. I left very different because I became even more appreciative and grateful I get to go to JMU and further my education. Also, I became even more aware of how important it is for children to have role models during developmental stages. I will never forget when I was having a conversation with a young boy named Junior, who after I told I went to JMU, went on and on about how he wants to go to there because of how great it is. An important skill I learned was patience when working with kids. Whether you're in a regular gen ed classroom, one-on-one therapy, or a group setting, children can become very chaotic and distracted at times. Understanding how to deal with this and not become overwhelmed yourself is a very important skill to be able to demonstrate. Kids can sense stress and feed off this and have their behavior become worse. So knowing how to keep your cool and not let the little things get to you can really go far. Also, something I will definitely use in my future is always being prepared and having at least 1 or 2 backup plans. Being flexible and quickly realizing when something isn't working is very useful because you really want to maximize the time with each child every day. Because of this service learning experience and in-class learning, I view individuals with disabilities not as people who will forever have difficulty in school, but people with so much hope and potential. There are an abundant amount of resources that schools and teachers provide and hope that no child gets left behind. It made me have more of a desire to help and shape their education differently with thinking of ideas that will be the most beneficial for each type of child since everyone functions differently. Service projects really benefit when students put their all into it when they are volunteering and being fully engaged. It's one of those situations that you get how much you put into it. I feel like I gained so many skills from this experience because when I was there for the few hours at the time, that's what had my full attention. When you're truly interested in helping, then most students will have a positive and beneficial experience. If people go into this project looking at it as a matter of getting the 10 required hours and not what they can learn defeats the whole purpose of this project. It is designed for hands-on learning, supplementing the reading we do in class to help with understanding the material. When people don't take it as a great opportunity, it makes this entire project useless and a waste of time. I learned that working with children isn't all fun and games. There are definitely going to be difficult moments in which you really need to rely on your basic knowledge to overcome. Even within my 10 hours, my patience was definitely tested, and I could tell if a child was taking advantage of me being a volunteer. It made me really think of new ways to go about teaching and interacting with children. With learning on how to find alternate ways to teach and interact with children, it gave me a great opportunity to evaluate what works and doesn't for future occurrences of the same case. All throughout my career of hopefully being an SLP, there will be plenty of situations that one way of teaching won't work. So I will need to have the background knowledge of recognizing when something doesn't work to quickly change it before I lose the interest and concentration of the child and become frustrated with myself. I'm very interested in learning more about why children act the way they do in certain situations. One of my days of volunteering, something peculiar happened that I'm still questioning. A little girl was playing with another volunteer and me, and she was being extremely bossy and demanding because she was pretending to be a teacher. And I would love to go in depth with the concept to see at certain ages how children feel compared to adults and other superior figures. My initial stereotype of second home, before I worked there, was going to be unorganized and chaotic. Due to the very low income they have to work with, I thought it was going to be not put together at all. But this really was not the case. I was upset with myself that I thought this because it is such an amazing and welcoming place. Yes, they do run on a very low income, but with being in such a great community of JMU, there are copious amounts of volunteers and sponsors that helped them grow into the safe haven for so many children that it is today. The major thing I learned about myself is how happy I am with my decision and career for my future. I know I have multiple opportunities, whether it being working in a public school, private school, or a separate school for children with disabilities. I am most passionate about speech therapy, but that of course is going to come along with working with children with disabilities. I know working with kids and directly seeing the results before my very own eyes is something I cannot wait to see, and I learned that it is something that will make me live a very happy, beneficial life.